All right, I'll say good day to you this day of your time. The transmission today will be the Interstellar Alliance Social Experiment, Step 4. Again, as a reminder, all of these steps, if you are willing to participate, need to be done in continuation at the same time, all of them, according to the timing that we have delivered. The idea today is about identity. Many people on your planet now are talking all about the idea of identity. How do you identify? I identify as this. I identify as that. Well, it's also time to start identifying as a member of the Interstellar Alliance if you are participating in this social experiment. Therefore, in the way that most people on your planet have done this in terms of identifying themselves, we present you with an Interstellar Alliance ID card. Now, this idea is not necessarily to be used only. You have already in your possession different forms of identification cards. You have straight ID cards, you have your driver's licenses, you have your credit cards. You have many forms of identification that you are often asked to provide, that is requested by different authorities for a variety of purposes on your planet. And we are not suggesting that you use the Interstellar Alliance ID card only. We are suggesting that you start using it in conjunction with any of the others that someone may request of you where appropriate, where convenient. You don't have to use it all the time. But the idea is to allow your society to begin to gain familiarity with this social experiment through the presentation of the Interstellar Alliance ID card so that they can start beginning to consider the idea alongside the ID cards that you typically use and are already used to using in your societies. So, we present you a template this time for the Interstellar Alliance ID card that you can put into your computers and can fill out and present, again, where appropriate, alongside your regular identification cards in certain situations. So, Nania, are you ready to read Step 4?
Interstellar Alliance Social Experiment, Step 4. Copy the Interstellar Alliance ID card on page 2 into your computer, add your color photo, and fill out the remainder of the card by typing or hand printing the region, city, and your name. Then add your signature under the photo. The photo should be similar to a passport, driver's license, or other typical ID card photo. Have the completed card printed in color on heavy paper stock, such as 80 or 100-pound stock. It should be printed out in the dimensions of a standard credit card or business card, 3 3/8 inches by 2 1/8 inches. Cut the card out and carry it with you at all times, just as you would any other ID card. Present the Interstellar Alliance ID card along with your regular ID card when ID is required and where appropriate, in order to establish familiarity with Interstellar Alliance ID cards in the general public over time. If asked what it is, remember to simply state that the card is part of a social experiment in which you are participating. If they wish to know more, please refer them to the Bashar.org website, where they can find the streaming event recordings that present the different steps of the Interstellar Alliance social experiment. In completing the Interstellar Alliance ID card, regions are as follows: North America, Central America, South America, Europe, Asia, Australia, Africa, Pacific territories, Atlantic territories, Antarctica. The city category can be cities, towns, villages, or established communities. States or provinces are recognized as local geographical areas and not as political entities by the Interstellar Alliance. This information will help you in filling out the Interstellar Alliance identification card. Thank you.
Thank you, Nania. So, the idea is to begin breaking down some of the borders between certain kinds of political distinctions, starting to expand and broaden the idea of the different regions on your planet, more geographically than politically, and to start understanding that you are a citizen of the Earth, as well as a citizen of the Interstellar Alliance, to start thinking more globally. And again, the presentation of this card, along with your regular ID cards, can allow your public in general to become more familiar with this social experiment through a device such as ID cards that they are familiar with seeing every day all over your planet. So if you present them where appropriate in conjunction with the other ID cards, just as a presentation, you can pique other people's curiosity about it. You can, in that way, get them to start researching what this is all about and deciding whether or not to join this social experiment if they think it would be fun. Again, stressing that this is a social experiment. It is not meant to usurp anything on your planet, to replace anything on your planet in anyone's mind, but to join with it, to be in addition to it, so that the changeover, shall we say, from one particular political perspective, the one that you have been using for thousands of years, can shift to a more global perspective, a more interstellar perspective, and allow humanity, at whatever pace you are comfortable with participating in, to become Homo Galacticus. So we thank you for those who are willing to participate in this fun experiment, this part of the social experiment, and we encourage you to use it in a playful way, to keep it light, and to remember to follow the other steps as well at the same time. We will be taking a break from the steps next time and delivering a different bit of information to all of you so that you can take the time to absorb the first 4 steps before we continue on to the 5th step and beyond. So, we will be giving you more information about the relationship between the physical mind, the soul, and the oversoul, so that you can gain a different perspective of the relationship between those 3 levels of consciousness and how it relates to your experience of physical reality and your experience of space and time. After that, we will continue to deliver additional steps, taking breaks along the way where appropriate, again to give you time to absorb the information and come to terms with exactly how involved you wish to be in this social experiment, and allow your vibrational frequency to change over time at a rate and a pace that is comfortable for you if you have decided to participate. We thank you for allowing us to share this new aspect, this 4th step of the Interstellar Alliance Social Experiment, this day of your time. And in return for the gift you are giving us in allowing us to play with you, we ask, how may we now continue to be of service to you as well? Please begin with your questions and your dialogues if you wish.
Hi, Bashar. Thank you for everything. I would love for you to clarify where is the point of contact between the realities of pain and suffering, let's say lower vibrationally, realities with consciousness in it, and higher vibrational truth and messages and beings that want to help. If they are not a vibrational match, they will not be able to receive them. So my question is, if I am doing acts of service, acts of help, or whatever that is, it might be that I'm just raising my vibration by doing so, and I'm just shifting myself to a more pleasant reality, that pain and suffering is not there as much, but I did nothing to the frame, to the reality that pain and suffering still is, and beings that are in a vicious circle of negative beliefs about themselves and the world that are getting mirrored back to them over and over again, reinforcing it. Those messages, this help, doesn't even reach them because maybe they're not a match for it. So where is that point of contact? What can we do? How does it work? Thank you.
You don't necessarily have the capability of doing what needs to be done, but their soul does. And very often the point of contact is what comes down to the term you call shock. So in other words, if it is part of their soul path to create a transformation from a lower state to a higher state, and they are refusing to receive the information that could help them do it in a more measured way, then very often the higher mind and the soul will work together in that sense with the physical mind to create a synchronicity that brings about a situation, a circumstance that will create shock to the physical system, to wake it up, to jar it out of its complacency with the negative vibration, and give it something less familiar to deal with so that it has to actually advance in order to deal with it. Or if it doesn't deal with it, it would simply transition back to spirit. In other words, it would die. So the idea is that death itself, the transition from physical to non-physical reality, or surprise or shock or life-threatening situations, can very often be what's required as the contact point, which is why you hear now so many experiences that you call near-death experiences, where the people will die, they will go into spirit, and from that experience they will completely realign and rearrange themselves when they come back to physical reality focus in ways that will give them a chance to experience life in a very different way. So it is about the idea of surprise, shock, and death that is usually the transformation point for them to jar them out of a negative vibration when nothing else will do it. Good day, good day.
Good day, Bashar. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
As we are in gratitude and appreciation for the co-creation to you.
Beautiful, thank you. It is my understanding that you are the future self of Daryl. Is that correct?
From one perspective, but we are autonomous beings existing simultaneously in the timelessness of existence.
Okay. I work as a healer, a counselor, and I have beings that have helped me over the years.
Yes.
Arcturian and Andromedan now. And I'm wondering, would these be future selves of myself?
Some of them can be. Again, remember that the term future self really means beings that exist in a parallel reality that simultaneously exists with yours. So it's the connections that you may make to them that would allow you the perspective from your linear point of view that they may be quote unquote future selves that you can use as templates to allow your vibration to grow in that direction and become your version of them in your reality. And more technically speaking, that is what is meant by future self. That you become your version of something in a parallel reality that you deem to be in some way, shape, or form more advanced, and therefore can absorb and match the frequency of such, creating a future self in your own timeline, a future version of you that is more in alignment with the being that you are making an energetic connection to in a parallel reality.
Fascinating. Then, as we expand our consciousness as healers, we expand our awareness, our consciousness, then I suppose this would mean that different beings would come in then.
Yes. As
Yes.
necessary, you are, let's say, plugging into and unplugging from beings all the time in terms of what information you need to download, what information you need to access. So those that are of a level or a skill or a penchant to provide certain information will be the ones that you automatically and synchronistically plug into when you need it, and you will unplug so that someone else may come in and plug in when you need something different. It's an ongoing dynamic exchange that is constantly shifting and changing as necessary.
That's beautiful.
Yes.
Would you say that, you know, with my clients, I've noticed that some of them are more open to energetic healing and activations than others.
Yes.
And one of the criteria or observations that I've made is that those that are experiencing and acknowledging the mystical experience that we have here in the third density as being an indication of somebody who is maybe opening up, you know, they're opening up to the suggestion that that they are multifaceted beings and that we are of the one consciousness, you know, removing us, I guess, away from separation consciousness is what I'm trying to say, and into
Yes.
the unity consciousness.
Yes.
Would there be another indication?
Well, there can be many indications. People can become more psychic, more telepathic. They can start extending their senses to see things that were heretofore invisible to them, because there are beings around you and realities around you all the time that are invisible to most of you. So beginning to perceive different things, spirit beings, the idea of different forms of energy that you couldn't see before, sometimes even the idea of extraterrestrials, extradimensionals, what you call our craft, UFOs, UAPs, starting to see these things more and more around you because they are around you all the time, is another indication of the expansion of consciousness and the unification principle. Now, this is not at the cost of your individuality. It is actually the strengthening of your individuality. Because as we have said, unification is not the product of homogenization and everyone being the same. It's the product of the validation of all of the unique differences between you. So it is that the differences become more compatible with one another, more expressive in a unifying way, and thus allowing expansion for everyone to be the puzzle piece they are that fits into the big picture and creates the whole picture that supports all the pieces.
Beautiful, thank you.
Yes.
I feel like there is more that I can do, and I guess it's what you call follow the plan, follow the formula.
Yes.
So that if when I am guided or passionately guided to offer something, I guess I would just follow that passion.
Yes, but remember, what someone else does with what you're sharing is none of your business. So you cannot have the
Yes.
insistence or expectation that they actually have to get what you think they should get out of it. You have to let them decide what it is they're getting out of it. Even if it appears that they're getting nothing, they're still getting something. So you have to let it be what it is, because you don't know what their path is, and you don't know when, where, or how they need to pay attention, if at all, to what it is you're sharing. But at least you're giving them the option and the opportunity, so that maybe somewhere down the line, in the years to come, they may remember what you shared, and it may become of use to them at that time when they're ready for it. So you have to let the timing and the acceptance and the acknowledgement and the effect be in their hands, knowing that what you have shared is all you can do, because you've given them the option to use it, but you have also allowed them the freedom to decide whether or not to use it.
Right. Excellent. Thank you.
Yes.
I have just one more question. There's a curious sort of personality that comes and goes, it seems, in this world. Intriguing. Saint Germain.
Yes.
I don't know if you've spoken about him before.
It is an
But
archetypal energy. It is part of the collective consciousness that comes to those who are oriented according to that frequency. And therefore, it is
see.
available to those who are willing to tap in for whatever the idea of that particular archetypal consciousness represents to them. It is of great help to many and can allow them to feel the opening of their minds, their spirits, their souls, and their hearts in the service to humanity that they may be willing to provide.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. And I think that was everything I had for you. I mean, I had other things, but that's okay. Thank you
All
very
right.
much for your time.
We thank you. Aveo. Good day.
Afeo, good day.
Hi, Bashar. My name is May. I have a question about beliefs. Through my last few years' spiritual growth, I have gained a few wisdoms. I have become a much happier person. I am now able to see through other people's behaviors to see what their beliefs are, um, to see how their beliefs have made who they are. I can't seem to see through my own behaviors. I can't seem to understand what my beliefs are, those beliefs that make my life not as ideal as I want it to be. Um, so I was wondering if you could help me understand how I can find my own beliefs. Thank you.
First and foremost, you may be encroaching on the borderline of what my life should be, and that can take you out of the present. So the idea to find the beliefs that are keeping you from experiencing what you prefer is to actually fully accept where you are now, even if it's not what you deem to be the ideal situation. Because everything happens for a reason to give you the opportunity to use it to your advantage. So whatever it is you're experiencing now has to be fully accepted and fully understood as being the most important thing you can be experiencing. And you don't have to go into, I should be experiencing something different, because that's an invalidation of what's going on in the present, which takes you out of the present, which doesn't allow you to use the present to your advantage in the way that you could be using it based on what's being presented to you in the present. So staying in the present with what is what will allow you paradoxically to move forward toward what you prefer, but you can't think that you should be somewhere better than where you are now. Where you are now has to be the best possible thing it could possibly be, because it contains everything you need to become more, but you have to accept yourself for where you are in the moment.
Hi,
Good day.
hi,
Good day.
Bashar.
Good day.
Thank you so much for this time.
It is our passion and our pleasure.
Thank you. I have some questions today
Yes.
regarding acting. I'm an I was really curious as how can actors be in a character who has traits that they don't have or they don't want to possess or create, and these might be of a negative, dark nature. So I'm curious as to how they can connect to the emotions in order to act this
Well,
particular
you have to
experience.
not be afraid of making that connection, knowing that it's temporary. You're plugging into a parallel reality version of yourself that may be experiencing that negativity as part of their soul's path for a variety of purposes and reasons that can ultimately be used for their soul's growth. So you have to understand that you're plugging into something that's not your soul's path in this timeline, but you're willing to make that connection to bring it through to be of service to others in playing a part and allowing yourself to experience what the parallel reality version is experiencing, knowing that it's only a temporary presentation because it's not necessarily part of your soul's path here, but it is part of their soul's path in their timeline, in their parallel reality. So you don't have to worry about it rubbing off on you unless you choose to match that vibration for yourself on this particular timeline. Does that help you?
Yes, thank you, Bashar. And that's also in terms of viewing content as well?
Yes.
Or
Yes. Anything that is representative of a parallel reality that is not what you prefer here can simply be used by you in whatever way, shape, or form will allow your soul to grow and used to your positive advantage if that is a technique that you seem to be attracted to use. I'm not saying you have to use it at all, but the idea is that if you are attracted to use it because it's part of your path, then you can use it in some way, shape, or form that provides a catharsis for other people as well as yourself by taking them through the idea of a negative expression and transforming it into a positive one ultimately, even if that's not what the part calls for. You can still use it that way in your own life.
Wow, that is so helpful. Thank
All
you,
right.
Bashar.
Yes.
I also was really interested in how storytelling, art, and entertainment work in your world, and if that type of learning and entertainment work.
Well, not exactly like yours. First of all, as we have said, remember, story structure is built into your psyche. It's not something you invented, it's something you discovered exists within yourself. And that's why it's important to hit those story point chords in a certain way, because it's like playing a tune and vibrating a harmonic resonant chord within you that speaks to your ability to retain that information that the story is providing. In our society, it's more directly experiential, and it is also simultaneously multidimensional. We don't have quote unquote movies or stories exactly in the same way that you do, but we do provide telepathic experiences that allow us to tap into a variety of parallel reality timelines, spirit paths, and experiences that then inform us of many more different ways that different beings in creation have of experiencing themselves. And this is part of what it's like for us to walk through life experiencing a multidimensional dream simultaneously as an onrush of images and experiences that are connected to every single image that may come to us in a series of a certain representative path. Did that explain it to you clearly, or was there some confusion in the way that was told to you?
No, that was lovely. Thank you.
All right.
Um, and I was wondering if you could talk about how parenting works for you. So, when communicating with telepathy and being in alignment with oneself, what does
Yes.
parenting then look like?
Well, again, the idea is that we allow the child to understand in a safe way, in a simulation, what the consequences of their choices may be before they actually do it in what you call the quote unquote real world. We also invite them to explore how to attract to themselves what they need without having to in any way